I want to hear from Jill what his beliefs are, like why God is so evil, basically. Like how do you deal with that? How do you deal with the idea that God may just slaughter people and do all these horrible things?
Where are you seeing that in the text?
The Midianites.
What about the
Uh,
Midianites?
well, weren't they slaughtered?
Was this a war that was waged?
Yeah.
Okay, so in war people die, don't they?
Disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming, and of the end of the world? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences, and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations. And then shall the end come. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake those days shall be shortened. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Christs, and false prophets, and shall shew great signs and wonders, insomuch that, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn.
Was this a war that was waged?
Yeah.
Okay, so in war people die, don't they? So when during warfare people die. It's been happening since the age of man.
Is God permitting this?
Yes, God permits wars. Yes,
So
he permitted
why
World
would
War
you
One. He permitted World War II.
why would you worship an evil God then?
It's an evil God to permit a war.
Sure.
Did the United States permit wars? Does the United
Yeah.
States go to war? Is that
Is the
evil?
United
Yes.
Yeah.
War itself is evil?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, war is evil.
What? What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
So if someone
Absolutely.
comes into your home and tries to rape your mother and your
That's not a
daughter,
war.
and you
It's not a
take out your
war.
shotgun and go to war with them, it is a
That
war.
is
It's a battle.
warfare.
We're still
No, it's
It's a
defense.
battle.
wow.
If
The
there
equivocation
is
is
hold on,
insane.
let me finish, please. If there is a wave of consecutive people doing that to your women and children, then we call that an invasion. So yes, and the Bible does permit war in the case of self-defense.
The United
That
It's
is
States is
called
not
not a
just
god.
war. It's called
self-defense,
just war
Steve.
theory. You can read about it. They've been writing
Yeah.
about it. Christians have been
So
writing about it since the first century.
Yeah, so the war in Iraq was not self-defense. Iraq had nothing to do
I'm
with the
not
attack
justifying
on the
the Iraq
United
War.
States. So
Only the
yeah,
wars in the
but
Bible.
hang on, Jill, behave. So and let's not forget that in Numbers 31, it was God that commanded them to go out and slaughter the Midianites.
Right.
So
And
this
why?
is
Why
not
was that the
just
case?
this is not just a
You
case
have to
of,
demonstrate
oh,
that.
they had to defend themselves. Look,
Yes.
Jill, you're going to get thrown
They
out
were
if you keep
defending
interrupting me,
themselves.
mate.
Yes, they were defending themselves.
I didn't know there were
Jill,
people who didn't think war
last
was
warning.
evil. That's
You're going to
wild.
get thrown out if you keep interrupting me.
I'm quiet. Go ahead.
Not only did they not have a defensive war, they went out to slaughter the Midianites. God ordered them to do this. So that is an evil act committed by an evil God in your estimation.
No, because I would argue that it was a just war. It was self-defense. If you want to have
And
that
what were they
debate,
defending
my channel
against?
is open.
Well, we're right here. How was it defense?
It's self-defense. The Bible tells us why God sends the people to war. To defend women and children, to defend what's right, to defend justice, to free the widows and the orphans from slavery. Israel was a hub for freed slaves, for escaped slaves. They would
Wait,
come to Israel for
But
freedom.
how is defending what's right in your estimation self-defense? How
You
do you
have to
get
read the
there?
Bible, and it tells you why God wages wars with these nations to begin with. They weren't tiptoeing through the tulips.
The Lord said to Moses, Speak to the Israelites, and say to them, I am the Lord your God. You must not do as they do in Egypt, where you used to live, and you must not do as they do in the land of Canaan, where I am bringing you. Do not follow their practices. You must obey my laws, and be careful to follow my decrees. I am the Lord your God. Keep my decrees and laws, for the man who obeys them will live by them. I am the Lord. No one is to approach any close relative to have sexual relations. I am the Lord. Do not dishonor your father by having sexual relations with your mother. She is your mother. Do not have relations with her. Do not have sexual relations with your father's wife. That would dishonor your father. Do not have sexual relations with your sister, either your father's daughter or your mother's daughter, whether she was born in the same home or elsewhere. Do not have sexual relations with your son's daughter or your daughter's daughter. That would dishonor you. Do not have sexual relations with the daughter of your father's wife, born to your father. She is your sister. Do not have sexual relations with your father's sister. She is your father's close relative. Do not have sexual relations with your mother's sister, because she is your mother's close relative. Do not dishonor your father's brother by approaching his wife to have sexual relations. She is your aunt. Do not have sexual relations with your daughter-in-law. She is your son's wife. Do not have relations with her. Do not have sexual relations with your brother's wife. That would dishonor your brother. Do not have sexual relations with both a woman and her daughter. Do not have sexual relations with either her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter. They are her close relatives. That is wickedness. Do not take your wife's sister as a rival wife and have sexual relations with her while your wife is living. Do not approach a woman to have sexual relations during the uncleanness of her monthly period. Do not have sexual relations with your neighbor's wife and defile yourself with her. Do not give any of your children to be sacrificed to Moloch, for you must not profane the name of your God. I am the Lord. Do not lie with a man as one lies with a woman. That is detestable. Do not have sexual relations with an animal and defile yourself with it. A woman must not present herself to an animal to have sexual relations with it. That is a perversion. Do not defile yourselves in any of these ways, because this is how the nations that I am going to drive out before you became defiled. Do not defile yourselves in any of these ways, because this is how the nations that I am going to drive out before you became defiled.
Begin with. They weren't tiptoeing through the tulips. Mark Reid, they were doing some horrible things, and God decides that he had enough of it. He waited 400 years. He gave these nations time to repent over and over again. He warned them, stop doing what you're doing. Stop
So he knew
sacrificing
they weren't going
children.
to repent, right?
Stop raping women and children. Stop with the sex fertility stuff, and they would not stop. So then he sends the armies of the Lord, the Israelites, to remove them from the land as a punishment for their wicked behavior, which is just. So if we have a group today killing babies systematically, I would say would be just for us to mount up and go over there and stop those atrocities.
What was the reason? What was the reason that God gave for killing the Midianites? What was the reason?
Their sexual fertility
No,
cults, which
no,
included children.
no,
Well, we can
no,
have
it
that
wasn't.
debate. We can have that debate if you're not afraid.
First sentence of
If you're not
Numbers
afraid.
31. Hang on. First sentence of Numbers 31. And you will not talk over me while I read this out, Jill, because I know what you do. Numbers 31. The Lord said to Moses, take vengeance on the Midianites for the Israelites. After that, you'll be gathered to your people.
Read the entire story to flesh out what's actually happening. Okay, so you can't start and say, look, Numbers 31 verse 1 as if that's the first war or first battle that was ever waged.
Dude, it's that
all right, you have
it's
to
the
go all the
same
way.
verse.
I didn't cut you off when you were
Stop,
talking.
no,
I didn't cut you off when you were talking.
Let him finish.
You have to
Let him
go
finish.
all the way back to Leviticus. Go all the way back to Exodus, and where the text is telling you that these lands were committing atrocities, and to where God now is mounting up and forming his own nation to go fight against Amalek, to go fight against these nations that are committing these atrocities. Context is king. Yeah, I've been behaving, but of course you don't like narratives that goes against yours.
Say, Jill.
He was very clear that it was because you kept unmuting yourself is the reason why you were getting bounced, not because of your position.
Cancel culture is a dress rehearsal for mass murder. They're seeing if people can be disappeared from social media, and if people accept people being disappeared from social media, then they will accept people being disappeared from the world.